We are elated at the manner in which the registration process has unfolded. What it does say to us is that South Africans remain engaged in the democratic project. The fact that so many of them came to the stations, came to update their address details. Very many young persons were very active on Twitter, on social media platforms. And as I indicate, we are very happy. And it means that democracy, especially local democracy, is alive in our country.
Now, the problems that have been reported, the few incidents that we've seen, I mean, what happened with the demarcation issue in Denver, we saw in Limpopo, also in Marikana, does that concern you at all? I mean, we saw police vehicles that were burned. Do you think it's just the start of things to come, that it would get worse closer to the elections?
No, I don't think so. Obviously, we want an incident-free electoral process. That's our number one prize. But to the extent that there are concerns, we believe that the leadership of the country, traditional leaders in the case of Vuani, the Electoral Commission, the Municipal Demarcation Board, and indeed government, must come together to find solutions for those communities so that people in those areas also find an opportunity to express themselves politically.
Now, the other issue was people without formal addresses. I mean, that was, and you resolved that to say, come in, there's a special form. How did that go in those areas? Did it go smoothly? Are you
it has gone very smoothly. We were finished the sufficient particulars of where people live in terms of the affirmation statement. It does place a bit of a strain into the operations, but it is now South African law. We've got to ensure that we comply to the orders of the Constitutional Court in that regard. Okay,
so just for the layman, how is it working? You get somebody who comes in, they fill in a special form. Are you still asking them for landmarks closest to, or identifiable things closest to where they live? And how will you check that? How will you verify that?
We need not verify in terms of the decision of the court. What we do need to be sure about is that the person indeed is resident within the voting district in which they seek registration. So it's sufficient for us if you say, I'm Sai Mamabolo, I live in this voting district next to the Roman Catholic Church, or next to a particular tavern, or next to a particular crèche. That is sufficient.
So you take their word for it?
Indeed.
Is that okay? Is that going to be fine? You don't think political parties might use that later to say, but you didn't verify. How do you know? We have problems. People who, they might use it as a
no, they need not, because the Constitutional Court did indicate that we are hovering under the misapprehension that we need to verify addresses. It is not so. All we need to ensure is that when we register a person, we register them in a voting district in which they live. So once that test is passed, the person must be registered.
Okay, well, every election, we know first-time voters seem to be the focus and the highlight. Can you give us some numbers? Any idea as to how many came to register, how many you can expect to vote?
We saw over 1 million people on Saturday. That will include persons who are registering for the first time and those who were re-registering. Early indications are that we have a fair amount of young persons who also turned up on Saturday. We are currently analyzing that data. We should be able, possibly tomorrow, to give a report to the country.
All right. Are political parties allowed to canvass outside registration points? I mean, I registered yesterday, and there was somebody from a certain party out there, and he wanted me to fill in a form, and I said, for what? And he says, no, just fill it in, and then just write your affiliation is this party. I said, but I'm not affiliated to the party. I'm not affiliated to any. Why? He said, no, just put it down. It doesn't matter who, and then they'll phone you.
Yeah, look, political parties will take advantage of all situations to secure support for themselves. They do get accredited to observe the process. They do have, in terms of the existing prescripts, they can set up temporary operation facilities outside the boundaries of the...
What are the boundaries? How far from the tent or the actual...
There is no prescribed distance. Rather, the registration supervisor must demarcate the area in light of the physical characteristics of the venue that is in use. I think The problem is that sometimes the type of campaigning goes a little overboard. This is not the first complaint that we've received.
Okay.
So we will engage with all parties to say, do it within acceptable bounds. It's unacceptable to force a person to sign a form almost surreptitiously.
Before I even got in there. Well, your staff were wonderful, I must say. They were wonderful, friendly, helpful, all of that. So that was great. Sai, very quickly, South Africans want to make plans. We want to know what's going to happen. When are these elections? How close are we to getting a date?
Well, I think the Commission will try to persuade the Minister, who's responsible in law, to proclaim the date, to announce such a date, so that everybody can operate on a basis of certainty. Certainly, on our side, we need certainty. Political parties need certainty, as do all South Africans who need to make plans. So we hope that the Minister will come to the party. On? We are indeed.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll chat to you soon then. Thanks very much for the update. That's IEC Deputy Chief Electoral Officer Sai Mamabolo.